The Velcrin dominion moved through the galaxy like a plague. World after world fell before their massive fleets. The pattern was always the same. Their ships would appear in orbit, hundreds of them blocking out the stars. They would send one message: surrender or die. Most species chose to live. In 2 years, 43 star systems had fallen. The Velcrin didn't just conquer, they consumed. Every defeated species became part of their war machine. Soldiers, workers, scientists, all forced to serve the Dominion. With each victory, the Velcrin grew stronger. Their fleet grew larger. Their advance became faster. The galaxy watched in horror. Ancient civilizations that had stood for thousands of years crumbled in days. The proud Zentari Empire, masters of energy weapons and shield technology, lasted 6 days. The Hive Collective, with their 1 billion drones and 3 colony worlds, fell in 4. No one could stop them. No one even slowed them down. Commander Tae-sung stood on the bridge of the human warship Defiant Dawn. He was reading reports from the frontier colonies. The news was not good. 3 human settlements had detected massive energy signatures moving through nearby systems. Ships, thousands of them. The Velcrin were coming. Tae-sung was 40 years old and had served in Earth's defense fleet for 20 years. He had fought pirates, smugglers, and corporate raiders. He had seen combat. But nothing like this. Nothing like an enemy that had crushed every opponent they faced without breaking stride. His tactical officer, Jiwon, approached with a datapad. She was young, only 28, but brilliant. Her mind worked like a computer, analyzing patterns and probabilities faster than anyone Tae-sung had ever met. "Commander, we're receiving another transmission," she said. "It's from the Zentari home system. Put it through," Tae-sung ordered. The bridge speakers crackled to life. The voice that came through was broken, desperate, dying. "This is Elder Council Ship Morning Light. The Velcrin have taken everything. Our worlds burn. Our people are slaves. We tried to fight. We had the best shields, the strongest weapons. It didn't matter. They adapt to everything. They learn from every battle. They cannot be stopped. If you're hearing this, run. Hide. Surrender is the only." The transmission cut off. Dead silence filled the bridge. Hyun-woo, the chief engineer, broke the quiet. "According to our records, about 800 vessels," Jiwon answered. "Mostly cruisers and destroyers. Their technology was more advanced than ours in many ways. And they lasted 6 days," Hyun-woo said quietly. Tae-sung looked at his crew. 35 people. 1 destroyer. The Defiant Dawn was a good ship, but she was small. Fast, maneuverable, well-armed for her size. But against an enemy that crushed civilizations, what could one ship do? "Earth Command is ordering all patrol ships to return to defensive positions around the core worlds," Mireille said from her communications station. She was the youngest officer on the bridge, only 24. But her skill with languages and signals was unmatched. "They're abandoning the frontier," Tae-sung said. "It wasn't a question. They're calling it a strategic withdrawal," Mireille replied. But her voice showed what she thought of that. Tae-sung walked to the main view screen. Space looked peaceful. Stars scattered across the black like diamonds. But somewhere out there, death was coming. The Velcrin would reach human space eventually. Running would only delay the inevitable. "How long until we reach Earth orbit if we leave now?" he asked. 18 days at maximum speed, Jiwon calculated. "And the Zentari system? 3 days. Tae-sung was quiet for a long moment. His crew waited. They knew their commander. They knew he was thinking about something dangerous. "Sir, we have direct orders to return," Jiwon reminded him gently. "I know," Tae-sung said. "But if we run now, we learn nothing. The Velcrin will arrive at our colonies, and will be as blind as every other species they've crushed. We won't know their tactics, their weaknesses, Their ships. We'll just die slightly slower than the others. You want to go toward them, Hyunwoo said. I want to see what we're up against, Taesung confirmed. I want to understand how they fight. Maybe we'll see something. Maybe we'll find something that can help Earth prepare. Or maybe we'll just die 3 days from now instead of facing them later with the fleet, Jiwon said. But she was already calculating courses, already thinking tactically. That was how she worked. It's not an order, Taesung said, looking at each of them. This is my decision. I'm going to the Zentari system. Anyone who wants to transfer to another ship before we leave can do so. I won't think less of you. This is probably suicide. No one moved. No one spoke. Then Young Jae, the weapons officer, laughed. He was a veteran of the colony wars, 35 years old and covered in scars. Sir, with respect, if we're going to die anyway, I'd rather see the bastards who killed us. At least then, we can tell them to go to hell in person. Other crew members nodded. Murmured agreement spread through the bridge. Taesung felt something tighten in his chest. Pride. Fear. Determination. All right then. Mireille. Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we're investigating a distress signal and our communications are damaged. Should buy us a few days before they realize we've gone rogue. Aye, Commander, Mireille said with a slight smile. Hyunwoo, I need every bit of speed you can give me. You'll have it, sir. Jiwon, start analyzing everything we know about Velkrin tactics. I want options, strategies. Anything that might give us an edge. Already on it, Commander. Taesung sat in his command chair. The defiant dawn turned away from safety, away from Earth, away from everything that made sense. They pointed their nose toward the Zentari system, toward the unknown, toward an enemy that had never lost. Take us in, Taesung ordered. The ship jumped to faster-than-light speed. Behind them, the rest of humanity's fleet fled to safety. Ahead of them, the Velkrin Dominion waited, unknowing that they were about to meet something they had never encountered before. They were about to meet humans. 3 days later, the defiant dawn dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Zentari system. What they saw made the entire bridge fall silent. The Zentari homeworld had been beautiful once. Taesung had seen pictures in the galactic databases. Cities of crystal and light. Oceans that sparkled blue and green. Mountains that touched the clouds. Now, the planet looked like it was dying. Massive industrial complexes covered what used to be cities. Smoke rose from 100 locations. The oceans looked dark and polluted. In just 6 days, the Velkrin had transformed a living world into a factory, scanning the system. Jiwon said quietly. Her voice was tight with controlled emotion. I'm reading 317 vessels in orbit around the planet, designating them as Velkrin warships based on the energy signatures. They're massive. Commander. The smallest ones are twice our size. Dr. Sora, the xenobiologist, stared at the view screen. She was 42 and had studied alien species her entire career. How can they process a planet so quickly? The logistics alone should take months. They use the conquered population as slaves, Mireille said. According to the Zentari's last transmissions, the Velkrin forced them to dismantle their own cities. Anyone who refused was executed. Anyone who complied was worked until they collapsed. Young Jae checked his weapons console. 300 ships. We have enough missiles for maybe 12 targets if we get lucky. This is insane. They've detected us, Jiwon announced. One of their ships is moving to intercept. No, wait. Multiple ships. I count 20 vessels breaking orbit and heading our direction. Taesung watched the tactical display. 20 ships. Even that was overwhelming. But he noticed something. The Velkrin ships moved in perfect formation. Textbook military precision. Every vessel exactly where it should be. No variation. No creativity. Incoming transmission, Mireille said. It's not in any language I recognize, but the translation matrix is working on it. A moment later, a voice filled the bridge. It was cold, mechanical, emotionless. Unknown vessel. You have entered territory claimed by the Velcrin Dominion. You will power down your weapons. You will provide the location of your homeworld. You will surrender your ship and crew to Dominion authority. You have one rotation of your planet to comply. Resistance will result in your destruction. This is your only warning. I'm quote. Then quote. Well, see Indy. The transmission ended. One rotation? Hyunwoo asked. They're giving us 24 hours. Jiwon translated. Standard Velcrin tactic. Give the enemy time to feel fear. Time to understand they have no chance. Time to convince themselves that surrender is logical. Taesung stood and walked closer to the view screen. He studied the approaching Velcrin ships. They were impressive. Sleek designs, heavy armor, weapons ports covering every angle, built for overwhelming force. Built for enemies who would see them and give up. Commander, we should consider our options, Jiwon said carefully. If we engage, we'll be destroyed. If we run, they might follow us back to human space. If we surrender, we might learn more about them, possibly escape later. Or we could send them a message, Taesung said. Everyone looked at him. What kind of message? Youngjae asked. The kind that tells them humans are different, Taesung replied. Jiwon, analyze their formation. Find me weaknesses. Hyunwoo, can you create false energy signatures? Make it look like we have more ships hiding nearby? Hyunwoo's eyes widened. You want to bluff them? I want to make them think twice, Taesung said. Every species they've faced surrendered quickly. What if they encounter one that doesn't? What if they face an enemy that fights back hard enough to hurt them? We have one ship. Jiwon protested. Even if we destroy one or two of theirs, they'll annihilate us. Probably, Taesung agreed. But they'll remember us. They'll wonder what the rest of humanity is like. They'll hesitate before they reach our colonies. And that hesitation might give Earth the time it needs to prepare. Dr. Sora spoke up. There's another factor, Commander. Every species they've conquered probably thought surrender would save lives. It didn't. The Velcrin don't show mercy. They show efficiency. Whether we fight or surrender, the outcome for us personally is the same. But if we fight, we might save others. Taesung looked at his crew. They were scared. He could see it in their eyes. But he also saw determination. They understood what he was proposing. They understood they were probably going to die, and they were willing to do it anyway. I need to know if you're with me, he said. I won't order anyone to die. But I'm going to fight them. I'm going to show them that humans don't surrender. That we don't bow to threats. That every world they try to take from us will cost them blood. Who's with me? Youngjae raised his hand first. I didn't join the fleet to run from bullies. Hyunwoo nodded. My family is on the frontier colonies. If we can buy them even one more day to evacuate, I'm in. Mireille smiled sadly. Someone needs to send the recording of this battle back to Earth. They need to see what we're facing. I'll make sure the message gets through. One by one, every crew member agreed. 35 people choosing almost certain death over the slim chance of escape. Taesung felt his throat tighten. He cleared it and returned to his command chair. All right. We have 24 hours. Jiwon, I want every tactical advantage you can find. Hyunwoo, start working on those false signatures. Youngjae, inventory our weapons and get creative. If they expect energy weapons, let's give them something different. Mireille, prepare a data packet with everything we learn. It needs to be launched toward Earth the moment the battle starts. Aye, Commander, they chorused. The hours passed quickly. The crew worked with focused intensity. Jiwon discovered that the Velcrin ships stayed in formation no matter what. They never broke rank. It was a strength when facing organized fleets, but it could be a weakness against unpredictable tactics. Young Jay found that their kinetic weapons, old-fashioned mass accelerators, firing solid slugs, had never appeared in Velcrin battle records. Every species they'd fought used energy weapons. Hyunwoo managed to modify the reactor output to create 5 false signatures that would appear on sensors as additional ships. 24 hours later, the Velcrin sent another transmission. Your time has expired. You have not complied. You will be boarded and captured. Prepare to be taken. Tae-sung opened a channel. He spoke clearly, firmly. This is Commander Tae-sung of the human vessel Defiant Dawn. We reject your demands. We reject your authority. And we reject your threats. If you want this ship, come and take it. He closed the channel and looked at his crew. Let's show them what humans are made of. The 20 Velcrin ships accelerated toward them. The Defiant Dawn powered up its weapons. One small ship against an empire. The battle began. The Velcrin ships came at them in perfect formation. 5 rows of 4 ships each. Textbook attack pattern. Beautiful in its precision. Predictable in its execution. They're charging weapons, Ji-won reported. Energy signatures match their standard disruptor cannons. They're going to try to disable our engines first, then board us. Not today, Tae-sung said. Hyunwoo, activate those false signatures. Make it look like we have 5 more ships hiding in the debris field of that destroyed station. Activating now, Hyunwoo confirmed. On the sensors, 5 new contacts appeared, positioned strategically around the wreckage of what used to be a Zentari orbital platform. The Velcrin formation hesitated. Just for a moment. Their ships slowed, scanning the area. They weren't expecting resistance. They certainly weren't expecting an ambush. They're confused, Ji-won said with satisfaction. Their lead ship is requesting instructions from the command vessel. That's our opening, Tae-sung said. Young Jae, target the lead ship. Full spread of kinetic missiles. Let's introduce them to old Earth technology. Young Jae grinned. Firing now. The Defiant Dawn shuddered as 12 missiles launched from her tubes. They weren't energy weapons. They were simple, ancient, brutal, solid projectiles accelerated to incredible speeds. No fancy shields could stop them easily, because most advanced species didn't use them anymore. They were considered primitive. The missiles struck the lead Velcrin ship. Its shields flickered, designed to disperse energy beams. But solid matter? Traveling at relativistic speeds? The shields barely slowed them. 3 missiles punched through the hull. Atmosphere vented. The ship listed to one side. Damaged. Direct hit, Young Jae shouted. They weren't ready for kinetic weapons. The Velcrin formation broke for the first time. Ships scattered, trying to avoid follow-up shots. Their perfect order dissolved into chaos. They've never faced this before, Ji-won said, analyzing their movements. Look at them. They're panicking. Every other species they fought used energy weapons. They designed their shields for that. We just hit them with technology their shields don't know how to handle. Press the advantage, Tae-sung ordered. Full speed toward the debris field. Make them chase us into difficult terrain. The Defiant Dawn accelerated. She was smaller than the Velcrin ships, more maneuverable. Tae-sung used that. The ship dove into the wreckage of destroyed Zentari stations and orbital platforms. Massive chunks of metal and crystal floated everywhere. Perfect cover. 2 ships following us in, Ji-won warned. The others are circling the debris field. Good, Tae-sung said. They're separating. Young Jae. The moment those 2 ships come around that station fragment, hit them with everything we have. The Defiant Dawn waited, hiding behind a piece of wreckage 3 times her size. The 2 Velcrin ships approached cautiously. They were learning, being more careful, but not careful enough. Now, Tae-sung shouted. The Defiant Dawn burst from cover. Young Jae fired the main mass driver cannon. A solid slug the size of a small vehicle launched at incredible speed. It hit the first Velcrin ship, dead center. The ship's shields collapsed. The slug punched through the hull, through the internal compartments, out the other side. The ship exploded. Missiles followed. The second Velcrin ship tried to evade, but in the debris field, it couldn't maneuver fast enough. 4 missiles struck home. The ship's engines died. It went dark, drifting. 2 down, Young Jae reported, his voice shaking with adrenaline. 18 to go, Ji-won countered. And they're adapting. Look at their shields. They're reconfiguring to handle kinetic impacts better. She was right. The remaining Velcrin ships were already adjusting. Their shields began pulsing differently, creating kinetic barriers. They were learning. Fast. Hyunwoo, can we modify our missiles? Taesung asked. Already on it, the engineer replied. I'm mixing in some explosive warheads. If their shields stop the kinetic penetration, the explosions might still damage them. The battle continued. The Defiant Dawn played a deadly game of hide-and-seek in the debris field. The Velcrin ships were faster, stronger, better armed. But the humans were clever. They used the environment. They set traps. They fired from unexpected angles. Lieutenant Borum led her small fighter squadron out. 6 fighters against capital ships seemed suicidal. But the fighters were tiny, fast, hard to hit. They zipped through the debris, drawing fire, distracting the enemy. One fighter got close enough to launch a torpedo directly into a Velcrin ship's engine port. The explosion crippled the vessel. Hours passed. The Defiant Dawn took damage. Hull breaches. Failing shields. Wounded crew. Dr. Unji worked frantically in medical bay, treating burns and injuries. But they kept fighting. We've destroyed 6 ships, Ji-won reported. Heavily damaged 4 more. But Commander, we're running out of ammunition, and our reactor is overheating. Hyunwoo says we have maybe 1 more hour of combat capability. Taesung looked at the tactical display. They'd done more than he'd hoped. They'd shown the Velcrin that humans could fight, could hurt them, could make them pay for every meter of space. But now, reality was catching up. Mireille, is the data packet ready? He asked. Yes, Commander. All battle data, sensor readings, tactical analysis, everything Earth needs to know about fighting the Velcrin. Launch it toward human space. Maximum speed. Launched, Mireille confirmed. Earth will receive it in about 2 weeks. Taesung stood. All right, people. We've done what we came here to do. We've learned. We've taught them a lesson. Now we need to survive long enough to teach them another one. What's the plan? Young Jae asked. The Velcrin main fleet is still in orbit around the planet, Taesung said. 300 ships, just sitting there, watching this fight. Why? Ji-won caught on immediately. They're studying us, analyzing our tactics. They want to understand how we fight before they commit more forces. Exactly, Taesung said. So let's give them something to really think about. Hyunwoo, I need you to do something dangerous. Can you overload our reactor to create a massive energy pulse? Make it look like we're about to self-destruct? Hyunwoo's eyes widened. You want to fake a self-destruct? The Velcrin have never seen a species willing to destroy themselves rather than be captured, Taesung explained. If they think we're that dedicated, that crazy, they'll report it back. The Dominion will have to reconsider their entire approach to humans. It's risky, Ji-won said. If the reactor actually does overload, then we die, Taesung said simply. But we were probably going to die anyway. At least this way, we control the message. The crew looked at each other. Then Young Jae laughed. Why not? We've already done the impossible today. Might as well end with a flourish. Ak, do it, Taesung ordered. Hyunwoo worked his console. The ship's reactor began building to a dangerous level. Alarms blared. Energy readings spiked. To any scanner, it looked like the Defiant Dawn was about to explode. The Velcrin ships immediately pulled back. They'd seen enough. They're retreating, Jiwan said with disbelief. They actually think we're crazy enough to blow ourselves up. Let them think it, Tae-sung said. Hyunwoo, shut down the reactor buildup. Mirai, open a channel to the Velcrin. When the channel opened, Tae-sung spoke with cold fury. Tell your overlord this. Tell him that humanity doesn't surrender. We don't bow. Tae-sung, we him see. We him see, and every ship you send against us will face the same choice. Retreat or die. We'll take as many of you with us as we can. Always. He closed the channel. Now. Get us out of here. Maximum speed toward that nebula. We'll hide in there and make repairs. The Defiant Dawn limped away from the battlefield. Behind them, 8 destroyed Velcrin ships drifted in space. 4 more were damaged. The remaining ships didn't pursue. The galaxy watched. 3 weeks had passed since the first battle. The Defiant Dawn had become something more than a ship. She was a symbol, a ghost that haunted the Velcrin dominion. Tae-sung stood on the bridge, studying reports. His ship had struck 12 times in those 3 weeks. Supply convoys destroyed. Communication stations disabled. Troop transports damaged. Never a major battle. Always hit and run. Strike hard. Disappear fast. The Velcrin couldn't catch them. The nebula provided perfect cover. Its gases disrupted sensors. The Defiant Dawn would emerge, attack, and vanish back into the clouds before the enemy could respond. It was driving the Velcrin insane. New contact, Jiwan announced. Human signatures. It's broadcasting our recognition codes, Tae-sung tensed. Had Earth finally sent someone to arrest him for disobeying orders? It's a stealth frigate, Jiwan continued. They're requesting permission to come aboard. Permission granted, Tae-sung said. An hour later, Captain Hana stood in the briefing room. She was older than Tae-sung, maybe 50, with gray hair and sharp eyes. She carried herself like someone who'd seen war and survived it. Admiral Kwan sends his regards, she said, and his thanks. Your data packet reached Earth 2 weeks ago. Command has been analyzing it constantly. Are they coming to relieve us? Tae-sung asked. Hana smiled. Relieve you? Commander, you're a hero. Earth is mobilizing the First Fleet, but it'll take another 2 months to reach this sector. Until then, you have new orders. Keep doing exactly what you've been doing. Keep the Velcrin busy. Keep them worried. Keep them looking over their shoulders. 2 months, Hyunwoo said. Can we last that long? You won't be alone, Hana replied. I brought supplies, ammunition, repair materials, and I'll be fighting alongside you. 2 ships are better than 1. Why 2 months? Mirai asked. Why not send the fleet now? Because Earth is evacuating the frontier colonies, Hana explained. Millions of people being moved to safer systems. The fleet is protecting the evacuation routes. Once the civilians are safe, they'll come here in force. Tae-sung understood immediately. We're buying time for people to escape. Exactly, Hana confirmed. Every day you keep the Velcrin focused on this sector is another day for families to reach safety. Command estimates you've already saved hundreds of thousands of lives. Dr. Sora leaned forward. What about the Zentari? The other conquered species? Are we just abandoning them? Hana's expression darkened. We're sending out messages to resistance groups on occupied worlds, teaching them human tactics. Guerrilla warfare, sabotage, psychological operations. Small rebellions are starting on 3 worlds already. Rebellions? Jiwan asked. Against the Velcrin? Inspired by you, Hana said, looking at Tae-sung. When word spread that 1 human ship fought off 20 Velcrin vessels, it changed something. For the first time, conquered species realized the Velcrin weren't invincible. They could be hurt. They could bleed. Over the next week, Tae-sung and Hana coordinated their tactics. Two ships could do so much more than one. They split the Velkrin fleet's attention. While the Defiant Dawn attacked in one system, Shadow's Edge would strike in another. The Velkrin were forced to spread their forces thin. Then Mireille received an encrypted transmission. "Commander, it's from the Zentari homeworld. Someone calling themselves Elder Korthan. He says he leads a resistance group." "Juzin, put him through," Taesung ordered. The hologram showed an elderly Zentari. His species looked almost human, but with silver skin and large eyes. He was thin, obviously starving, but his eyes burned with determination. "Human commander," Korthan said. "We have watched your battles. We have seen what you do with one ship. We want to fight. We want to resist. But we need help. We need knowledge." Taesung glanced at Hana. She nodded. "What do you need?" Taesung asked. "The Velkrin control our factories, our weapons, our ships. We have nothing but our hands and our anger," Korthan said. "Teach us how to fight with nothing." Over the next days, Taesung sent information to the Zentari resistance. How to make improvised explosives from common materials. How to sabotage machinery so it would fail later. How to create false intelligence to confuse the enemy. How to disappear after an attack. How to turn the Velkrin's own infrastructure against them. Earth had learned these lessons through centuries of warfare. Humans had fought each other for so long that they understood every dirty trick, every psychological angle, every way to hurt an enemy without direct confrontation. Now, they shared that knowledge. The results were immediate. Factories on the Zentari homeworld began experiencing accidents. Velkrin patrols would find their vehicles sabotaged. Communication lines would mysteriously cut. Food supplies for the occupation forces would spoil. Nothing dramatic. Nothing that could be traced. Just constant, grinding problems that wore down the occupiers. The Velkrin were forced to pull ships from their advanced fleets to maintain order on conquered worlds. Their expansion slowed. Then, stopped. Entirely. Ji-won worked with General Dae-hyun at Earth Command to create a masterpiece of deception. They fed false intelligence through captured Velkrin communication channels. Reports of a massive human fleet gathering. 100 warships preparing to strike. Completely fabricated, but with enough technical details to seem real. The Velkrin believed it. They had to. The humans they'd encountered so far were unlike anything in their experience. Unpredictable. Dangerous. Willing to die rather than surrender. If humans had 2 ships causing this much damage, what could 100 ships do? Supreme Overlord Vrathkar ordered his entire fleet to consolidate. All 300 ships pulled back to the Zentari system, preparing for the coming battle. There was no battle, there was no fleet, just 2 ships and a lot of courage. Taesung watched from the nebula as the Velkrin fleet gathered. An empire that had conquered 43 systems without real resistance was now too frightened to advance against one species. "It's working," Hana said softly. "We've stopped them completely. For now," Taesung replied. "But eventually, they'll figure out the truth. They'll realize we don't have 100 ships waiting. By then, Earth's real fleet will be here," Ji-won said. "Maybe," Taesung said. "Or maybe the Velkrin will get smart. They've been studying us for 3 weeks, learning our patterns, understanding our tactics. Vrathkar isn't stupid. He's cautious now, but he won't stay paralyzed forever." Youngjae checked his tactical display. "The Velkrin are deploying new sensor grids, better scanning technology. They're trying to find us." "They're adapting," Dr. Sora observed. "Just like they've adapted to every other enemy. The difference is, we keep changing our tactics faster than they can adjust." "How long can we keep that up?" Mireille asked. No one answered. They all knew the truth. They were exhausted. The ships were damaged. Supplies were running low, despite Shadow's Edge bringing reinforcements, and the Velkrin had hundreds of ships to their 2. But they also knew something else. They'd done the impossible. One ship, then two, had stopped an empire. They'd bought time for millions to escape. They'd inspired rebellions across multiple worlds. They'd shown the galaxy that the Velcrin could be resisted. 6 more weeks, Tae-sung said. We just need to hold for 6 more weeks. Then Earth's fleet arrives, and we can finish this properly. 6 weeks, Hana agreed. Think we can manage? Tae-sung smiled. It was tired, worn, but genuine. We're human. We'll manage. The next day, they struck 3 targets simultaneously, using drones and false signatures. The Velcrins scrambled to respond, spreading their forces again. The game continued. 2 ships against an empire. And somehow, impossibly, the ships were winning. 73 days. That's how long the Defiant Dawn and Shadow's Edge held the line. 73 days of constant fighting, running, hiding, and striking back. The ships were barely holding together. The crews were running on exhaustion and determination. Then, finally, they came. Multiple contacts dropping out of faster than light, Ji-won announced, her voice cracking with emotion. Human signatures. It's the first fleet. Tae-sung stood, his legs shaky from fatigue. On the view screen, 42 Earth warships appeared. Destroyers, cruisers, carriers, battleships. The entire might of humanity's defense force, here at last. Fleet Admiral Jae-min is requesting communication, Mireille said. She was crying. They all were. The hologram showed a stern-looking man in his 60s. Fleet Admiral Jae-min had led Earth's Navy for 15 years. He looked at Tae-sung with an expression that mixed pride, gratitude, and sorrow. Commander Tae-sung, he said formally. On behalf of Earth and all her people, thank you. You gave us the time we needed. 3 million colonists evacuated safely because of you. You're a hero. We were just doing our duty, Admiral, Tae-sung replied. You did far more than duty, Jae-min said. You changed history. Now, let's finish this. All ships, battle formation. We're taking back the Zentari system. The combined human fleet moved forward. 44 ships now, including the battered Defiant Dawn and Shadow's Edge, against 300 Velcrin vessels. The odds were still terrible, but they were better than they'd been. The Velcrin fleet detected them immediately. Supreme Overlord Vrathkar sent a transmission. His voice was filled with rage. Humans, you have cost me time, resources, and respect. My dominion has never been challenged like this. I will personally ensure your species suffers for your arrogance, Fleet Admiral Jae-min replied calmly. Then come and make us suffer. If you can. The 2 fleets met in the space between the Zentari homeworld and its moon. The battle was like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. The Velcrin attacked with their standard tactics, overwhelming numbers, coordinated strikes, energy weapons designed to disable and capture. But humans fought differently. They fought dirty. Earth's carriers launched hundreds of fighters and drones. The small craft swarmed the Velcrin ships like angry insects. Too many to target. Too fast to hit. They didn't try to destroy the enemy ships. They targeted sensors, communication arrays, weapon ports. Anything to disrupt and confuse. The battleships used the tactics Tae-sung had pioneered. Kinetic weapons mixed with energy cannons. The Velcrin shields, adjusted to handle both, struggled with the variety. Some shots got through. Hulls breached. Ships vented atmosphere, but the Velcrin were learning. They adapted quickly, spreading their formations, using their numbers to surround human vessels. 3 human destroyers were overwhelmed and destroyed in the first hour. A cruiser took critical damage and had to retreat. The humans were giving better than they got, but they were still outnumbered. 7-1. Tae-sung commanded the Defiant Dawn with everything he had left. His ship was barely functional, held together by Hyun-woo's engineering genius and sheer willpower, but she could still fight. Enemy battleship targeting us, Jiwan warned. It's Vrothkar's flagship. The massive Velkrin vessel, 3 times the size of the Defiant Dawn, bore down on them. Weapons charged. He wants revenge, Taesung said. He wants to kill us personally. What do we do? Youngjae asked. Taesung thought of the 73 days. The fear, the exhaustion, the tiny victories against impossible odds. He thought of the millions of people who escaped because his crew refused to give up. He thought of the rebellions on conquered worlds, inspired by human defiance. We give him what he wants, Taesung said. But not the way he expects. Hyunwoo, can you overload the reactor? For real this time? Hyunwoo understood immediately. You want to ram him. One more impossible thing, Taesung said. One more lesson for the Velkrin. Jiwan, calculate a collision course. Youngjae, I need you to disable their engines first. Everyone else, to the escape pods. That's an order. Sir, no, Jiwan protested. We can find another way. There is no other way, Taesung said gently. This ship is dying. Her reactor is barely stable. But she can do one more thing. She can take out Vrothkar and his flagship. Without him, the Velkrin command structure will collapse. We've studied them. They rely on centralized authority. Kill the leader, and they'll retreat. Then we all stay, Youngjae said firmly. If the ship goes, we go with her. No, Taesung said. I need you alive. All of you. You need to tell Earth what happened here. You need to train the next generation of officers. This war isn't over. The Velkrin will come again. And humanity will need people who know how to fight them. Slowly, reluctantly, the crew began evacuating. Jiwan was the last to leave. She stood at the bridge exit, tears streaming down her face. It's been an honor, Commander, she said. The honor was mine, Taesung replied. Now go. Live. That's how you honor my sacrifice. The escape pods launched. Taesung watched them go, picked up by nearby human ships. Then he turned to his console. He was alone on the Defiant Dawn now. Just him and his dying ship. All right, girl, he said softly, patting the console. One last run. Let's show them what humans are made of. He accelerated toward Vrothkar's flagship. Youngjae's parting shot had disabled the enemy's maneuvering thrusters. The massive ship couldn't dodge. It tried to shoot the Defiant Dawn, but Taesung jinked and weaved, using every trick he'd learned. Hyunwoo's final gift activated. The reactor went critical. Not an explosion, but a controlled overload. Energy built to impossible levels. Vrothkar's face appeared on the screen, eyes wide with understanding and fear. Taesung smiled. Welcome to Earth, you bastard. The Defiant Dawn struck the flagship dead center. The overloaded reactor exploded. The flagship's shields couldn't handle it. Both ships went up in a blinding flash. The Velkrin fleet hesitated, leaderless. Their rigid command structure had no backup plan, no contingency for losing their supreme overlord. Fleet Admiral Jaemin seized the moment. All ships. Full assault. Break their lines. The human fleet surged forward. Without coordination, the Velkrin ships began making mistakes. Breaking formation. Colliding with each other. Fleeing instead of fighting. In 3 hours, it was over. The Velkrin lost, 70 ships destroyed, dozens more crippled. The survivors retreated into faster than light, abandoning the system entirely. Earth had lost 17 ships, hundreds of crew members dead, including Commander Taesung, but they had won. The Velkrin's advance was broken. Their empire fractured as rebellions exploded on every conquered world. Species that had lost hope suddenly remembered how to fight. Weeks later, Jiwan stood on the surface of the Zentari homeworld. The planet was still scarred, still damaged. But the Velkrin were gone. The Zentari were free. Rebuilding had begun. Elder Corthan approached her. The old Zentari looked healthier now, hope in his eyes. "Your commander," he said. "He saved us. Not just by fighting, but by teaching us that resistance was possible. That we didn't have to accept tyranny." Jiwan looked up at the sky. Somewhere out there, debris from the defiant dawn still orbited. A monument to courage. "He taught all of us that," she said softly. Mireille joined them, holding a data pad. "Earth Command wants to know what we learned. What made the difference? Why humans succeeded where 43 other species failed." Jiwan thought about it. The tactics, the weapons, the clever strategies, those had all helped. But they weren't the real answer. "Tell them," she said, "that every species the Velkrin conquered thought surrender would save lives. They calculated odds and chose survival over resistance. But humans think differently. We don't calculate whether we can win. We decide that some things are worth dying for. Freedom is one of them. We decided.com. We decided.com. We decided.com. We decided.com. "Will the Velkrin come back?" Corthan asked. "Probably," Jiwan admitted. "But next time, they'll face more than just humans. They'll face a galaxy that remembers how to fight. Because Commander Taesung and his crew showed everyone something important." "What's that?" Mireille asked. Jiwan smiled, sad but proud. "That conquest is easy when no one fights back. But when someone does, when someone stands up and says, 'No more,' everything changes." One ship stopped an empire. Imagine what we can do together. Above them, construction crews worked on new orbital defenses. Human, Zentari, and volunteers from a dozen other species, working together, preparing for the next threat. The defiant dawn was gone. But what she represented, what her crew had proven, would echo through the galaxy, forever. Humans didn't just fight for themselves. They fought for everyone. And they would never, ever surrender.